We will start by asking folks who are able and willing to stand for the invocation delivered by Pastor Garrett and also the Pledge of Allegiance immediately to follow. Pastor, welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for our health and strength, for watching over us all last night, allowing us to get up fully clothed in our right minds. Father, we lift up to you the city of Wichita. We ask for your divine healing to come upon all that have tested positive with COVID-19 in Jesus' name. Father, we ask that your Holy Spirit comfort the families that have lost loved ones to this deadly virus. Father, right now we lift up to you our Mayor, Brandon Whipple, the city council leaders and their families. Father, I pray that they work together in unity and with integrity as they serve our communities, bless their families and protect them from all hurt, harm, and danger in your name, Jesus. Father, place a hedge of protection around our police chief, Gordon Ramsay, and our police officers and their families, even our medical teams as they put their lives on the line to keep our community safe. Father, help us to remember the homeless, the poor, our veterans, the elderly, our children and youth, and the disabled in our communities. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
of
for which it
America,
stands,
the
one
republic
nation,
for which
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
is for all.
Madam Clerk.
Approve the minutes of the regular meeting on December 1st, 2020.
Has every member had a chance to approve the minutes, to review the minutes? And if so, is there any discussion? If there is no discussion on the minutes, then I will make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. If there is discussion on the motion, I think that we should discuss the motion so that we have time for Councilmember Johnson to get here and cast his vote. The motion does appear to be in order. Motion, there we go. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Under the public agenda, we have James Kilpatrick regarding moving COVID-19 restrictions.
Very good. We will move into the public agenda by recognizing Naomi over at Century 2. Mr. Kilpatrick, you have 5 minutes. Welcome. And of course, we have seems like somewhat of a technical difficulty, so let's go ahead and freeze your time for a moment. It seems like the volume might be off.
There you go.
We got it?
Yep.
Good
Welcome,
morning.
sir.
My name is James Kilpatrick, and I'm here to speak about removing the costly and destructive methods of COVID-19 that we put into place. Now, prior to this, we had a policy of communicable diseases that just allowed the tracking of those seeking treatment, hospitalizations, and deaths. That was a good policy. It served us for hundreds of years. Here in 2020 with COVID-19, we've changed those policies, and they've become a very costly and very destructive element. Now, COVID-19 is real, just like all the previous pandemics that we've had. We had the swine flu pandemic in 2009, SARS in 2003. We've had the annual influenzas that take tens of thousands of lives. So it is just as real as those, but the policies that we put in place are just too destructive for the disease. So what made us change this? CDC said that we would have 2 million dead with COVID-19. Well, COVID-19 did not prove to be that destructive. As a matter of fact, prior to March 24th, you had to have COVID-19 to be a COVID-19 case. After March 24th, the CDC changed the definition of a COVID case. It included any probable or possible case that might be COVID-19. So this immediately altered the statistics and introduced a policy of what we call reconciliation or review. Now, what is that? That policy is where a doctor says, you died of this cause. KDHE comes with the death certificate, looks it over and says, no, that is a COVID-19 death. So what happened with the new policy when it went into effect? Well, right off the get-go, the USA death statistics jumped in 1 week from 494 to over 11,000 deaths. New York City jumped from 6,000 deaths to over 10,000 deaths in one review. KDHE on October 26th acknowledged that we had 976 COVID-19 deaths, but they also said that approximately 300 of those were due to the policy of reconciliation. So right there, we see that the statistics are being manipulated. Good or bad, it's still a manipulation. We should return to the past policies that did not include this manipulation of statistics. Now, we've added another policy of reimbursement to COVID-19, something we haven't done before. This policy of reimbursement is any expense that you can label to COVID-19 can be repaid by the government. So we have an economic incentive to have things become COVID-19 or do things that you might not have otherwise done for COVID-19. This has turned COVID-19 into a cash cow, especially for the public and for the government entities, but it's killing private enterprise and private employees. As we break down these disbursements, you can see that they are not primarily aimed at the people or bringing relief to those who have had it. Now, if you'll take a look at, you should have this chart, and so I'm going to put it down out of the way. On the left side, you'll see that it shows general population. This was our policy with COVID prior to August 24th. On August 24th, the CDC changed that policy to one of testing symptomatic and high-risk cases. Whenever you do that, you've changed your population, you expect a high increase in positive percentage rates.
28
now,
seconds
fortunately,
left, sir.
3 weeks. What?
You have 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, if you look at the other charts, you'll see that COVID-19 doesn't warrant the destructive and costly measures we're taking. We need to return to the people their fortunes, their lives, and their sacred honor. And if I could, just the mask. Remember when you used to go to the hospital and they'd give you a mask to wear inside so you could visit with your loved one inside the hospital room? Today, you can't visit inside the hospital room, even with a mask, and yet you're requiring everybody outside to require a mask. It isn't logical, some of the things that we are doing. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right. Back to the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Consent agenda items 1 through 31.
Is there a discussion on the consent agenda items? If there's no discussion on the consent agenda items, I will make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. No discussion on said motion. Clerk will open a roll. Members cast the vote. The result of 6 yeas to 1 nay. The motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Report of awarded bids and contracts dated December 7th, 2020.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Hannah Lang, Department of Finance, here to present the December 7th Board of Bids recommendations. First engineering bid we have is water distribution system to serve Emerald Bay, 4th edition of rebid. Apex Excavating for $85,988.50. 2020 Sanitary Sewer Recon Phase 4. Brad Doty Construction for $148,791. 2020 OP3 CIP Concrete Street Repairs Phase 3. Kansas Paving for the engineer's estimate of $374,700. 2021 Utility Cut Repairs PPJ Construction for $2,489,450. Sanitary Sewer Improvements to serve Clear Creek 4th Edition. Nowak Construction for $111,636.50. Stormwater Drain Tie Project to serve Edgewater 3rd and 4th Edition. Kansas Pavings for groups 1 through 5 for an aggregate bid total of $567,768.60. 2021 OP3 Preservative Seal, Pro Seal for the base bid and out alternate for a contract award of $780,000. Transportation of Biosolids, A+ Logistics for $4.95 per ton. 4-wheel drive 4.5 yard wheel loader deferred to December 14th for the bids. Sedans, SUVs, cargo vans, and pickup trucks deferred to December 14th for the bids. This is the city's procurement website, and that is our recommendations to approve the bid awards as recommendations. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
All right, discussion on the item. Questions for staff? If there's no discussion or questions, I'll make a motion to accept staff's recommended action to receive and file the report, approve the contracts, and authorize the necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Clerk will open a roll. Members cast the vote. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
2021 Salary and Classification Ordinances.
Good morning, Mayor and City
Good morning.
Council. I'm Chris Bezricki, the HR Director. The item for your consideration and approval today are the classification and salary ordinances for 2021. The ordinances establish the City of Wichita's job classifications and corresponding pay ranges for both exempt and hourly employees. There is 2 special items on this agenda, or in this ordinance. One, we're proposing to close the gap on compression, or at least widen the gap on compression for the police lieutenants. So we're proposing a 5% increase in addition to the cost of living adjustment. And for the department heads, we want to compress the range E81 to E82 to E83 into just one range, which we'll call E83. And we will be raising the entry salary for department heads at $125, up from approximately $89,000. And the top range will be set at $209, up from $188. This makes us a lot more competitive with the city of Des Moines, Fort Worth, Kansas City, and Oklahoma City. So we won't be the highest, but we won't be at the bottom end. So it is recommended that the City Council place the ordinance on first reading, authorize the necessary signatures, and authorize staff to make the technical adjustments to position titles and the numbering in order to implement the new Munis HR payroll software system, which is very complicated. So with that, let me try to walk us through some of the highlights. Okay. So we talked about what the ordinance does and establish the pay increases for 2021. And it's important to note here that for most of the ranges, the pay rates have been established by you already in the budget and in the union contracts. So as we look at the different union contracts, they all fall between 1.125, 1.25, and 1.5% increase this year. And most employees will be eligible for a 2.5% merit, a performance-based increase in 2021 based on the performance evaluation. And the cost resulting from the general pay adjustments, the 1.25, 1.5, have already been adopted in the salary ordinance and are consistent with that amount. We talk about the ranges. And with that, we recommend your approval, and I stand for questions.
Is there questions about this item? I just have a generalist question, if you don't mind. With the merit pay, 2.5% for, or excuse me, cost of living pay, I assume, 2.5 for the majority of employees, but 1.5 for employees that are union members. Could you kind of walk those who might be watching why that's different?
Sure. The union employees are also eligible for those steps. So they'll be getting their salary step, or their salary increases at 1.5, 1.25, if you will. So the whole range moves up. But there's 16 steps embedded in their getting them to the top of their range.
Okay. Other questions on this item? See none. With that, I will make a motion to accept staff's recommended action, which is to place the ordinance on first read, authorize the necessary signatures, and authorize staff to make technical adjustments to position, titles, and numbering in order to implement the -HR payroll software system. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. There's no discussion on the motion. Members cast their vote. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Adoption of the National Electrical Code 2020 edition.
As determined in the Friday meeting, I will make a motion to pull this item off of today's agenda and place it on the agenda for December 15th under the heading New Council Business. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, members can cast the votes. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Approval of contract extensions.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Hannah Lang here to talk about the contract extensions for Q1 of 2021. Earlier this year, City Council did approve 10 contracts that were expiring in 2020 for the renewal for a year to extend those contracts because of the complexity and length of those contracts. Today, we have 4 more contracts that we are presenting for ones that are in Q1. They are the airport marketing services, airport grounds maintenance, parking operations and management of parking garages and lots, as well as the uniform management program. These specific 4 contracts were chosen because of the complexity and lengthy time frame that they can have, as well as COVID-19 has affected business practices, staffing availability, and workloads. The criteria that was used for considering the contract extensions was the complexity and length of the proposal process, importance for city operations, as well as satisfactory contract performance. We are asking the extension for 1 year with terms unchanged except for the technical adjustments and price adjustment consistent with previous contract terms. Our recommendation is to authorize the purchasing manager to negotiate contract extensions for the 4 identified contracts and authorize the necessary signatures. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Questions on the item? Councilmember Tuttle.
I didn't even touch it.
So,
And I voted no earlier and I didn't mean to, so I think something's
so
wrong.
for some reason, I just noticed this. My tablet is logged in as Becky Tuttle. So
My
the
identity's
no,
been stolen.
yeah, so the no vote on the consent agenda should have been mine and not hers.
Thank God.
So the,
Because I just noticed this because I pushed the request to speak on this item and noticed that it showed up as Becky Tuttle, and I'm like, that's bizarre.
so,
You don't want to be Becky Tuttle.
and just for process, I'm gonna go, we're on this item, at the end of the agenda, can Councilmember Fry motion to change, or I think it's actually Councilmember Fry and Councilmember Tuttle would both have to motion to change their votes, and if it's unanimous, which it will be, it automatically changes, or is it a technical issue and they could just request it to be changed? How do we move forward on
It's a
it?
technical issue. If you're referring to the earlier vote, it's just a technical issue, and the minutes can reflect the actual vote.
Okay, and can that be corrected now while we're on this item?
In my opinion, it's already been corrected.
Excellent, okay. So, I believe, do you guys need to change seats, or, or can you motion to Councilmember Tuttle for Brian to get on the floor? All right, Councilmember Fry.
Thank you. Hannah, could you just confirm for me who is the vendor for the airport-specific marketing service?
Yes, that is Gredeman Group.
Pardon?
Gredeman Group,
It's Gredeman Group?
they've
Okay.
had the current contract for 5 years now.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking it was Cop Media.
Cop Media does have a different contract with us for airport. It's the media buying.
So that's not part of this one?
No,
Okay, thank you.
it's separate.
Further questions or discussion on this item? All right, well, make a motion to pass staff's recommended action. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. There's no discussion on the motion. Members cast their vote. Please check your vote twice to make sure that it's actually you're logged in. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
CARES Act funding allocations.
Director Stang, always a pleasure to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, members of council. Sally Stang for the record. The item I have for you today is additional Emergency Solutions Grant CARES Act allocations. As we've stated before, the city receives an annual allocations of funds from HUD under the Emergency Solutions Grant. Those funded activities align with the city's goals of creating livable and sustainable communities, and we create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and affordable housing. And ESG funds are limited to programs serving those experiencing homelessness. Our annual allocation for 2021 was just under $250,000. As a result of the CARES Act, we received $3.3 million to allocate in our fight against COVID-19. The funding must be used to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus pandemic among families and individuals who are experiencing homelessness or receiving homeless assistance, and to support additional homeless assistance and homeless prevention activities to mitigate the spread and impacts of COVID-19. Staff reached out to all 6 of our shelter providers that we fund in our normal allocation process to say, what is it that you need and related to COVID-19 in your shelter operations? And all 6 of those organizations demonstrated additional needs related to COVID-19. They were very, very wide and various of what those needs were. So Catholic Charities Harbor House asked for $1,700 for additional cleaning equipment. The St. Anthony Family Shelter, cleaning equipment, cleaning services, paper goods, thermometers, hygiene supplies. Humankind Ministry, hand sanitizing stations, additional cleaning services, disposable dinnerware and utensils. The Salvation Army, $30,000 for bus passes, food funding for security deposits and application fees to assist clients in housing opportunities. United Methodist Open Door, $24,750 for additional staff at the day shelter. and the Wichita Family Crisis Center, $124,320 for hotel expenses, PPE, utilities, and technology needs. You can see a myriad of needs, but how they all do connect back to responding to COVID-19. The ESG funding is exempt from federal match requirements, but it must be committed by December 25th, 2020. We will be back next week with the final requests and allocations so that we will fully obligate all $3.3 million. There is no impact to the general fund. And all the funding agreements will be approved as to form by the law department. And it is our recommendation that the City Council authorize the CARES Act ESG funding allocations and authorize the funding agreements and necessary signatures. And I stand for any questions you might have.
Would you put it back on slide 35, please?
Sure.
I want to take a look at those allocations again. Excellent. Any questions on this item?
More on that screen too.
Very well presented. None of us have questions. So with that, I will make a motion to take staff's recommended action to authorize the CARES Act ESG funding allocations and authorize the funding agreements and necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. If no discussion on said motion, members will cast their vote. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
2021 arterial water mains.
Good
Welcome,
morning,
sir.
Mayor, Council members. Gary Jansen, Public Works Engineering. So I have 5 items for your consideration today. These are annual water and sewer system enhancement projects. As we've developed the capital improvement program over time, these specific categories have really helped us with our long-range planning for improvements to an expansion of our system. Primarily, we have combined almost 5,000 miles of water and sewer pipe under the ground, and all the facilities that go with that will be the focus of these items. So I don't think any one of them should take too long. I will tell you that collectively, all total 5 items are just under $20 million request today for budget. This is something that we do at this time every year. Last week, the council approved a rate increase. Director King at the time talked about the focus of that being on capital improvements, so that's exactly why we're here today, to be able to start planning for all those improvements in 2021. I will tell you real quickly on all of these items, just so I don't need to repeat it each time, per Charter Ordinance 211, it does take a 2/3 majority vote, 5 members to pass these items. So with that, I'll start on the first item, is the 2021 arterial water mains. The adopted CIP includes annual funding for projects involving replacement or relocation of water lines, primarily located within arterial street right-of-way. And this is due to conflicts with proposed improvements or replacement due to age, material, things like ground cover or leak history. So we try to plan these as we go through with arterial street improvements that you also see in the CIP. Let me set that out of the way. The funding for the 2021 arterial water mains will allow for main replacement or relocation necessary to construct arterial street projects, or in this case, we do know specifically that this will be for freeway improvements, which will provide more reliable service to customers. Specific locations and scope of work would typically be developed as design advances for the arterial street improvements. We know for 2021 that this funding will be primarily used for the North Junction. The first phase will be underway next spring. We have to relocate our facilities out of the way of the new improvements, so that's what we'll be planning on with this funding. CIP includes $2 million for this item. Staff recommends initiating all at this time and ask the council to approve the project, adopt the resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Questions on the item? Discussion. If there's no questions or discussion, I will make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the project and budget, adopt the resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. Per Charter Ordinance 211, this item requires a 2/3 majority vote, which will be 5 votes. There's a second.
Second.
Motion has been seconded by the Vice Mayor, then clerk will open a roll. Members cast their vote. The result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk.
2021 collection and distribution mains replacement.
Mayor and council members, Gary Jansen again. The next item is the 2021 collection and distribution mains replacement. This is really the core of what we do in engineering each year, working with our operations groups and taking care of a lot of issues within our system, within the system I talked about when I mentioned the 5,000 miles of pipe and everything that goes with that. This funding is for annual projects to replace or rehabilitate failing water and sewer infrastructure. The sewer collection mains replacement program helps to replace or rehabilitate sewers that have failed or found to be in critical condition as a result of unexpected and unplanned stoppages and backups. Our staff spends quite a bit of time, again, with our sewer maintenance operations folks. They do a lot of time, spend a lot of time televising our existing system so that we can be proactive as much as possible in replacing older parts of the system prior to getting those backups and system failures. And I think it's been really successful for us over quite a few years now. The water distribution mains replacement program decreases the number of unexpected water main breaks, brings undersized mains to current standards, and improves fire protection. The program also replaces water lines that have failed or have been determined to be in critical condition after multiple breaks and are beyond the means of city crews to repair. I'm sure all of you hear often about water main breaks we had. The most recent one we had was on West Street, took out a considerable amount of pavement. We don't like to have to respond to those situations, but considering the size of our system, sometimes, unfortunately, that's where we end up. We evaluate those sections of pipe, whatever it might be at that time, and make a decision, and that's why this funding is critical. Both programs support the rehabilitation and replacement of infrastructure in the event of unforeseen emergencies and the ability to correctly size infrastructure as necessary. The approved CIP includes $5.7 million for each item for sanitary, sewer, and water. Projects are being developed now and will be throughout 2021. Again, this is not all just reactive to emergencies. We look at leak history, we look at areas of both systems that have performance issues, and typically do not have a problem being able to utilize this funding to really make some significant improvements each year. With that, staff recommends City Council approve the projects and budgets, adopt the resolutions, and authorize necessary signatures. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Questions on the item? Discussion on the item? See none. With that, I'll make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the project and budget, adopt the resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. Per Charter Ordinance 211, this item requires a 2/3 majority vote, which is 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Council will cast their votes. Result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, this motion also passes. Madam Clerk.
2021 dead-end mains elimination.
Mayor and council members, the third item I have for you is the 2021 dead-end water mains elimination. I talked earlier about, as we've developed the CIP over the years, the specific funding categories that we've identified, and this is one that came to the surface several years ago that has been really good to have as a reminder of the needs within our system. As our city grows, or had grown more at one time, still growing, but was rapidly growing at one time, we were extending our systems out to a point where we had a lot of dead ends. That can create overall system issues and performance. And what this specific funding source does is help us tie up some of those loose ends and create a better overall system for us. This program connects gaps and constructs loops in existing systems with dead-end water mains for improved water pressure and more reliable service to customers, and certainly for overall system reliability. I just wanted to show a quick example, and we do know some projects on this list, but a quick example, if you'll see here, is in the southeast portion of the city. Just real quickly, all the blue lines that you see here are existing water lines. You can see the red line that was constructed last year. Helped to really connect the dots there. If you see, there was 1, 2, 3 different places that we connected into existing water lines. This makes a big difference for a lot of reasons. It helps with pressure, it helps with reliability. If there ever is a part of the system that goes down, it helps us allow to keep water service to bigger areas without potentially shutting down large neighborhoods or big sections of the city. So this has been a really valuable funding source again for us. The dead-end mains replacement project, again, as I mentioned, will be used to combat pressure and water quality issues. Staff will identify projects that can be built within other projects. As we talked before, without the arterial main funding, if we have the opportunity to take care of multiple things at the same time, we do. Some of the planned projects for this year include work near Heights High School at 53rd and Hillside, near the Via Christi St. Teresa Hospital on West 21st Street, and then Mays Road south of Pawnee. We've got a lot of catching up to do over time, again, the way the city has developed, but this is working really well for us. CIP includes $1,100,000 in 2021 for the project. Staff is requesting that funding at this time and requesting council to approve the project, adopt the resolution, authorize the necessary signatures. I'd be happy to stand for questions.
Councilmember Frye.
Thank you. Gary, in the green sheet for our review, you listed the three that you mentioned, Heights, Via Christi, and Mays Road, but it also talks about West Pressure Zone. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did not mean to leave that out. In fact, I had it on my list and looked right over it. So our West Pressure Zone area is typically on West Maple and Douglas, west of 235. We have a booster pump station on West Maple, west of 135th. There's just areas out there that struggle a little bit with pressure, and we're always looking for ways to enhance that. So, and I apologize, I don't have any more specifics than that. It's something that we've been looking at for some time and continuing to evaluate the best thing that we can do to enhance that area of the city.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions or discussion on the item? See none. With that, I'll make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the project and budget, adopt the resolution, and authorize the necessary signatures. As a reminder, per Charter Ordinance 211, this item requires a 2/3 majority vote, which is 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Clerk will open the roll. Members cast the votes. The result is 7 yeas to 0 nays. The motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Equus Wellfield spur line replacements.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of Wichita City Council. Don Henry, Public Works and Utilities. The item before you this morning is a recommendation to increase the budget for Equus Wellfield spur line replacements. If you recall, maybe from a presentation in October of 2019 when council authorized the original project, the city's well field consists of 61 production wells and 14 additional recharge wells. Spur line piping functions to connect the water wells to the main transmission lines that convey water to town for treatment. 15 of the spur lines are approaching the end of their useful life at about 80 years old. And this is indicative of the frequency of breaks that we're seeing now. 2 of these breaks occurred in 2020. And moving forward with a planned, well thought out replacement program makes a lot more sense than being in a reactive mode, which is expensive. The breaks can cause property damage, crop damage, things like that. This also helps to ensure that demands are met. Council approved $600,000 in funds for design and construction of 2 spur lines in October of 2019. Staff recommends moving forward at this time with construction of the remaining 13 oldest spur lines. And $2 million in funding is available in the 2019 approved CIP under the line item water supply rehab projects. That would bring the total budget to $2.6 million. This time I'd like to go ahead and provide staff's recommendations to approve the budget, adopt the resolution, and authorize the necessary signature, keeping in mind per Charter Ordinance 211, this item does require a 2/3 majority vote. Thank you, and I'll stand for any questions that you have.
Questions on the item? Discussion? See none. With that, I will make the motion to approve The budget, adopt the resolution, authorize the necessary signatures. Per Charter 211, this requires a 2/3 majority, which is 5 votes. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Clerk will open the roll, members will cast the votes. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Funding for Hilltop and Plainview Distribution Water Main Replacement.
Mayor and council members, Gary Jansen again, Public Works Engineering. Item 4 of 5 is funding for water main replacements in the Plainview and Hilltop neighborhoods. Neighborhood water main replacement projects are designed to replace undersized and leak-prone lines that are past their useful life. The item that you approved just a little bit ago for distribution mains is primarily focused on the same type of work in existing neighborhoods. Again, you know, we live in a pretty big city these days, and there's a lot of areas where we've still got undersized water lines within existing residential neighborhoods. And even as much work as we've done over the last few years, we've still got a long ways to go. So this has been a real focus for us. It's done a lot to improve water service, quality, pressure, less interruptions to neighborhood areas. When we have specific projects identified over time, we usually try to go ahead and separate those out in the CIP, as we have done with this one. A portion of these areas were already funded in the previous CIP, and we're asking for additional funding today. The project to replace water mains, and I'll show you a map here in just a minute, in the Plainview area, specifically in Roseberry, Roosevelt, and Cessna Streets, and then in Hilltop, we'll start on Pershing and proceed to the west as funding allows. And I just would mention again, this has been a big focus for us for multiple years now. As rate increases allowed funding to be utilized for capital improvements, I think this is where we've seen a really big impact on our overall system. This is in Hilltop, and I apologize, this is a little bit hard to see where we're at, but the top street on this is Lincoln, the bottom is Harry, with Oliver right in the middle. So everything that's shaded within Hilltop is our goal to get to eventually. With additional funding, again, we'll start near Oliver and move west. And then in Plainview, this is south of Pawnee, west of George Washington Boulevard. I mentioned before that the council previously approved budgets of $850,000 for Plainview and $1,435,000 for Hilltop. The CIP includes an additional $1,785,000 for neighborhood main replacement projects in these two areas. We're asking for approval of that today with a split as shown to the separate projects that will result in a total budget of $1 million for Plainview and just over $3 million for Hilltop. With that, staff recommends council approve the projects, adopt the amending resolutions, and authorize the necessary signatures, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Questions? Discussion on the item. If there is no questions or discussion, I will make the motion to accept staff's recommended action to approve the projects, adopt the amending resolutions, and authorize the necessary signatures. Again, this will take a 2/3 majority to pass. If there's no second on it, then we won't be able to do it, but.
Second.
Motion has been seconded by the Vice Mayor. If there's no discussion on the motion, then members will cast a vote. The result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass.
(2021) water and sewer mains for future development.
Before we get on to this item, is this your 5th one?
Is this what?
Your 5th item that you've,
This is the 5th and final item, yes, sir.
is this the most you've done? And
Probably so. This time every year, we usually have a barrage of these, but yeah.
we admire your stamina.
Well, I appreciate you bearing with me. This is the last item I have for 2021 water and sewer mains for future development. The adopted CIP includes funding for projects to construct new water and sewer main extensions to provide service to currently unserved areas. On September 1st, 2020, the City Council did approve a portion of the sewer funding for future development, which I will talk about in just a moment. The projects will primarily serve new development with water and sewer availability as needed when the city grows. Right now, our current process is set that proposed projects are requested by developers and evaluated by staff to make sure the project is in the best interest of the utility and the city of Wichita. This account will be run on a first-come, first-served basis. We'll talk about the financial model of this in just a minute, but I wanted to mention that first-come, first-served basis in just first. The idea of this program is to fund roughly 50% of the main improvements. And in theory, these mains would serve a bigger area than any one single development. That's one of the things staff looks at, is try to project what the future looks like in any certain area. There is a mains for future development fee that is assessed at 6.2 cents per square foot for sewer, 4.4 cents for water. And that was a rate that was increased in the last several years to try to stay in that area of recouping 50% of that cost. I mentioned the whole first come, first serve, so we try to reach out to the development community, spend time with WABA, and especially some of the larger developers in the community, but not just them, to try to see what's coming next. I can tell you in the last year especially, including this year, with the impacts that the pandemic, or the COVID has had, it's a guessing game for them more than it ever has been. And so developments can kind of come up out of the blue. So it's been even more challenging. And the reason why I tell you that is we have Raftellus, who has previously completed cost of service analysis for the utility, looking at this process now, working with WABA, working with the development community. Staff has been engaged to analyze what we're doing, to see if it is still in the best interest of the city, to follow this process, to hopefully help us find a better way to look at the return on our investment and see if what we're doing as far as first come, first serve is really serving us best. I think we've done a good job and the best we can with the program to really provide a benefit to new development. But right now, development is going about as strong as it has for many years. What seems to be a housing boom with low interest rates is not slowing down. So our first come, first serve basis right now, we have funding in the CIP projected to be used all the way through 2024 at this time. That can become a challenge for some developments to be able to have to wait that long. So I think it's still working good now. We're still recommending that the council approve this item today. And hopefully sometime in the near future, we'll be able to have more discussion on what we have come to with Raftellus and WABA on what a future plan may look like. And it may stay the same. I don't know yet. So the adopted CIP includes $2.4 million for the extension of water and almost $1.8 million for the extension of sewer in 2021. As I mentioned before, sewer funding was previously approved to begin work on a development. Actually, to be able to finish the project near K96 and Ridge Road for existing development, and then to start work on the future development near Pawnee and Mays Road. So staff is requesting the balance of the sewer funding and all $2.4 million of water funding to be approved at this time. With that, staff requests that the council approve the budgets, adopt the resolutions and notice of intent, and authorize necessary signatures, and I'd be happy to stand for questions.
Questions on the item? Councilmember Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. Gary, I had two questions. One, is this more so for development on the, I guess, fringes of the city, like around close to the borders of the city?
Not necessarily. By default, it kind of ends up being that way because when you look at the true intent of the city funding half of a main, because it can serve a bigger area, a larger basin, it ends up being that way because most areas within the core of the city are already served at least to an extent that it doesn't require a main. We're talking about a bigger pipe, bigger facilities that can take on more drainage in a larger drainage basin. So we don't specify it that way. We don't draw it up that way and say that it's restricted to that. But that's how it ends up generally working because of how the land is developed or not developed to that point.
Okay. And then my second question is this usually covered by special assessment in these developments?
So yes, it is. So I mentioned what we call the main benefit fee, which combined is just over 10 cents per square foot for water and sewer, which again, our theoretical model is to replace 50% of that cost, and that does go on special assessments. Developers do have the option, if they want, for lots to pay for that fee at the time of connection, but it's pretty rare, and it's almost always rolled into our petitions.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions or discussion? Seeing none, with that, I will make the motion to accept staff's recommended action to approve the budgets, adopt the resolutions, and authorize the necessary signatures. Again, this will take 2/3 of the body. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Clerk will open the roll. Members cast the vote. With the result of 6 yeas to 1 nay, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
2020 year-end budget adjustments for Gulf Fund.
Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Goldtree. I'm from the Department of Finance, and I'm here today to present the year-end budget adjustment for the Gulf Fund. The Gulf Fund, golf rounds have been declining over the past decade. As a reminder, in the quarterly reports that are presented to you all 4 times a year, there have been indications that the Gulf Fund has continued to be challenged. Part of the main reason is that operating deficits that have been incurred year after year have led to a dwindling cash balance. And for that reason, a break-even budget was built for 2020 based on cost reduction strategies. In a departure from trends over the past decade, rounds played have increased in 2020, which mirrors national trends. With higher activity comes more expenditures, such as concessions inventory and seasonal staffing. So this increased activity is welcome news for the Gulf Fund. Revenues should exceed expenditures at year end. However, a budget adjustment will be necessary for the additional expenditures that will exceed the 2020 revised budget. There has been a lot of discussion about the sustainability of the Gulf Fund. We're all curious to see whether increased play is the result of an ongoing shift in behavior. And nonetheless, rebuilding and maintaining the cash balance is important for the Gulf Fund for flexibility. The recommended action today is to approve the budget adjustment to increase the Gulf Fund revised budget by up to $305,000. I'll stand for any questions.
Questions on the item? I have a couple. So this year, Gulf Fund has ended in a black, and in previous years, it's ended in a red. Is that correct?
That's correct. So far, the Gulf Fund exhibits a lot of seasonal volatility. So in the winter months, it usually has a net loss. So through October, it was at a net gain, but the last 2 months are usually not as good.
Which is consistent because
It's
of the weather.
typical of the Gulf Fund, right?
So what was I know that there have been changes in fee structures coming directly out of the accounts for, I don't know if we switched from a pass to a membership or a membership to a pass system. I know that there was changes. Is this a result of that? Is it a result of, and I understand COVID kind of throws everything off, is it a result of this is one of the activities that were safe to do during COVID, so you saw a bump? Do we know why this year we see this in a black versus earlier years we've seen it in a red?
Yeah, there has been a change, as you mentioned, in the structure for season passes versus memberships, and that is a steady source of income. But I think, and the park department could probably speak to this more, but looking at the data on the financial end, there's definitely been an increase in greens fees and cart rentals. So for golfers that aren't part of the membership program, so I guess those would be considered occasional or new golfers.
I guess my follow-up question, and probably the last one, I'm interested, I know that we were looking at possible management changes, systematic changes in a golf system to make it more sustainable. It seems right now, maybe some of the changes we've already made have created it to be sustainable since it is in the black. Are we still moving forward with, is there still discussion on changing the way it's being managed, or what, and this is probably a Troy question or a Bob question, but what, knowing that we're ending in the black, what are we thinking as far as basing future changes off our current situation versus situations in years past?
Yeah. As far as revenue goes, I think it's too soon to tell if the increase in rounds played by the non-membership golfers is going to be something that we see long-term. That really picked up in the late summer. So it's more of a wait and see, but I'll defer to the city manager on the question about.
Of course, so I think Troy was.
Oh, or Troy.
Troy was pretty excited to get up here. Morning, Troy. How are you, sir?
Morning, Mayor, Council. Troy Hopman, Director of Parks and Recreation. So yes, this year we're going to end up in the black, hopefully. We have a few more weeks left. We've made some major changes in regards to marketing, our fee structure, and this fee structure has actually gave us opportunities to get revenue when we are low in participation. So we're looking that in the future that this will continue. But although that we're in the black, what we really need is millions of dollars more for reinvestment into the park, or into the golf courses, I should say. So I think the idea is that we're still going to explore the idea of new management, which might have the opportunity to put that investment back into the golf courses. But we'll make that evaluation as we continue to look at what those options are. But the bottom line is we still need millions of dollars more to put into the investment into the clubhouses, the infrastructure, the roads, because we're looking at golf courses that are 40, 50 years old. Does that answer your question?
It does. I'm taking notes. Give me 1 second. And while I have you up here, just want to follow up on, I believe the park board made a recommendation about staffing and furloughs. I just wanted to know if the administration had a chance to respond to that recommendation.
So I shared that with the city manager. We looked at all the numbers. We worked with our finance folks, and I think one of the things that Elizabeth had talked about is always having some positive dollars in the account at the end of the year, because we do have a lot of expenses that counter those revenues at the end of the year. So we did not, we continued those furloughs for that reason, to make sure that we had that buffer of funding in that account.
Excellent. Vice Mayor Playcomb.
Thank you. I have a question. I know we're in the black, but did we pay on the debt service this year? Okay, so we're in the black, but not paying our debt.
That is correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Are we in the black because we have an increase of players? Is it because we changed our fee structure a year before I think I was on? Or is it because we're not paying debt? I would love a more thorough picture, because if we're in the black for, and this is not a typical year with COVID, so it's very tough to use this year as an indicator for future years, but I would be interested to know if there has been analysis, or could analysis be done to see if the changes that have been made will go towards the sustainability of our golf courses as they currently are, noting that we of course would want to make those investments, those millions of dollars of investments into our aging infrastructure. But
so in one short year, it's hard to make that determination. In one short year with COVID, it's even harder to make that determination. In one short year with excellent weather, it's hard to make that determination. Across the country, because of COVID, we've seen all the golf courses across the country bubble up and actually have more play. And so we were actually able to see that in our golf courses as well. Will that continue as the restrictions open back up and people are able to go to other kind of entertainment, spend their time going back to the stadiums, going back to sport events? Will we continue to have those high numbers? That's the big question. Our job is to retain those folks and keep them coming to our golf courses once we get back to normal. And that's going to be where the true test is. And only time will be able to tell on that. And with 1 year, we won't be able to make that determination. But like I said, we put some things in place that with our marketing, with our improved courses, We even got our goose dog to get rid of the geese. I think that was a great investment, and we saw huge gains over at McDonald's. So we're all doing the things that we need to do to make some marginal improvements. But again, I'll say this one more time, is that we need millions of dollars to put investment back into the golf courses.
Can you, for the record, tell us what the goose dog's name is?
I should know that, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
But Bob, I think, wants to chime in. Maybe he knows the name. City Manager?
Mayor, to go to your initial question, what we'll do is we'll get you a breakdown of revenue between the annual fees and passes and the memberships versus the walk-on rounds, so you can at least see how that broke out for this year.
Excellent. And it sounds like those who walked on will get a follow-up and hopefully an opportunity to buy membership. I mean, it just seems like we're heading in. There's not a whole lot of positive financial news this year, it seems, and ending in the black for golf seems pretty good. So I'm interested to know what, to jump in at just, I guess, a couple layers deeper to see if it is because we didn't make our debt payment or if it is because some of the changes that have been made have been proving beneficial. So
what is interesting is we have 4 golf courses. They're usually open 52 weeks out of the year, so that's 108 weeks. We were actually closed 20 weeks because of COVID. And that was in April and May. Some really big generating months of revenue. So again, another factor that's really hard to analyze without having further data, a wider spectrum of data. But as the manager mentioned, we analyze all the different revenues in all the different forms, everything from our golf carts to our concessions to the driving ranges, all the different areas in regards that we get in revenue, and we track those. So those are easy reports for us to develop.
excellent. Well, I look forward to those conversations. Other discussions on this item? If none, then I will make the motion to take staff's recommended action to approve the budget adjustments to increase the golf fund reserve budget by up to $305,000. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Clerk will open a roll. Members cast the vote. With the result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Madam Clerk.
Clemens Aviation LLC Supplemental Agreement Number 2, Colonel James Jabara Airport.
Morning, Mayor, Council. Bradley Christopher, Assistant Director of Airports. I'm happy to present to you this morning Supplemental Agreement Number 2 to the Clemens Aviation LLC Use and Lease Agreement. Little background. Wichita Airport Authority approved the use and lease agreement with Clemens on February 18th of this year. That agreement permits a variety of aeronautical services at the Jabbar Airport, such as aircraft charter, maintenance, sales, pilot services, management, storage, and self-service activities. The agreement, that agreement permitted the construction of 2 18,000 square foot aircraft hangars on 105,000 square feet of land. Clemens has invested in these facilities approximately $4 million to date. The first 2 hangars are nearing completion and are anticipated to be move-in ready by the end of this year. Supplemental Agreement Number 1, may recall, a couple weeks ago was approved by the authority, November 24th, and that amended the original leasehold to reflect this precise measurement of the land based on property survey. What is proposed under this Supplemental Agreement Number 2 is Clemens proposes to construct 2 additional 18,000 square foot hangars on the land that is adjacent to and west of the current Clemens leasehold between Jabbar Road and Webb Road. I'll have diagrams for you here momentarily. Clemens will build an aircraft ramp between the hangars and pay for a connector to an extension of taxiway Alpha 3 that will be built by the Airport Authority. Taxiway Alpha 3 will be a non-exclusive public-use taxiway that will also serve additional future aeronautical development along Webb Road. No other aeronautical services, rights, or privileges will be added to this supplemental agreement that are already not permitted in the current use and lease agreement. This proposal includes an additional 101,000 square feet of land would be added to this supplemental agreement. The site is identified as Parcel 6 on the Jabara Airport property maps to follow, and has been available and advertised continuously to the public on the flywichita.com development opportunities site and in promotional brochures for at least 6 years. No other parties have approached the Airport Authority staff with any interest in developing this parcel. An advertised RFP was not required under the airport leasing guidelines due to lack of interest of any other parties in this parcel. General outline diagram will show you red circle, Parcel 6, about 3 acres. Another overall view, just rough approximation along Webb Road. One more for you, shows the parcel itself. Again, notice Webb Road bordered on the west side and Jabara Road on the east side. Aerial view, a little higher. The red zone represents the current Clemens Aviation leasehold, and the yellow represents additional lease parcel as reflected in this supplemental agreement. Another picture of that, a different view. Again, the red current leasehold, the yellow proposed under this supplemental agreement. The green outlines represents the Taxiway Alpha 3 extension that I spoke of a moment ago that will be undertaken by the Airport Authority. That is a public use, will be a public use taxiway. Just a few key financial terms of this agreement. Lease term, standard 30 years. Leasehold size, 101, slightly more. Plus the 105 that's already leased to Clemens, brings that to a total of 206,000 square feet, slightly more. Initial lease rate will be 23 cents per square foot beginning June 2021, or upon completion of Taxiway Alpha 3 and when that's available for use, whichever shall occur later. Initial annual lease revenue for this supplemental agreement will be an additional $23,663. Lease rate escalation will escalate at 1% a year, and the facility rent will come online beginning year 26 at fair market value. All construction costs, we're estimating approximately $4 million. Private investment will be paid by Clemens. That'll include the hangars, aircraft ramp, vehicle parking, and a taxiway connector. It's a triple net lease, which means the lessee will take care of all the maintenance obligations. It's possible that Clemens may choose and request to obtain special facility, airport special facility revenue bond financing, or qualify for sales tax exemptions on certain construction costs. This proposal and financial business terms of the lease were reviewed by the Wichita Airport Advisory Board on November 2nd and unanimously recommended for approval to the Wichita Airport Authority Board. Staff recommends Airport Authority approval of Supplemental Agreement Number 2 and authorize the necessary signatures. Be happy to answer any questions council may have.
All right, questions on the item? Discussion on the item? If there's no questions or discussion, then I will go ahead and make the motion to accept staff's recommended action or approve the supplemental agreements and authorize the necessary signatures. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Clerk will open the roll. Members cast the votes. With a result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Councilmember appointments and comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Manager.
I apologize. We have a technical glitch, and so the votes for the council are not appearing electronically. If you don't mind, just to make sure we comply with COMA, would you have the city clerk register the 2 no votes that occurred on consent agenda and on item number 10?
So my understanding is that there is 1 no vote agenda on a consent agenda,
Right.
and it was Councilmember Fry.
Correct. And then we had, on item 10, there was a no vote as well.
Understanding on item 10, the no vote came from Councilmember Johnson. Is that confirmed?
Thank you so much. I
Of course.
appreciate
May
it.
the clerk allow the record to reflect.
Yes.
Yeah, the record was correct, but we'd have to show it publicly, and it's not displaying on the board today.
Good catch. Thank you. We're going into board appointments now. Are there members who have appointments to various boards? I will be making appointments to the Small Business Advisory Council. For new members, we appointed Jared Bowie, Natalie Greenlee, Andrea Patton Stang, Doug Stark, Alex Thomas as new members, and the remaining members who have been previously appointed are Amber Beck, Wayne Bell, Sharon Boone, Felicia Despain, Andrew Gong, Adam and Jesse Harkey, Sarah Leslie, Tython Miles, Janelle Robinson, Brooke Russell, Fee Vonderland, and Jacob Wayman. And then those who I don't have to tell you who's leaving because those aren't official appointments, but those would be my appointments to the Small Business Advisory Council. Are there any other appointments for any other members? All right, with that, I would ask that the clerk open the roll, and we can vote on
Mayor, I need a
appointments.
second, please. If
Oh.
that's your motion.
Yes, my motion is to make those appointments. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded by the Vice Mayor. And members will vote. Result of 7 yeas to 0 nays, the motion does pass. Are there any more board appointments at this time? If not, we will jump into announcements and discussion for the good of the group. I have a few announcements. First, I want to thank everyone who tuned in to the holiday tree lighting that happened this past weekend. I also want to thank Santa for showing up. Santa came and really my kids were pretty ecstatic, although Santa did give me a lump of coal, which is okay. And also Santa, apparently, my son, Santa's going to be able to get Tristan a toy guitar, but my other son, AJ, asked for a potion that will allow him to teleport. And I'm not sure if Santa told him he was going to get him that or not, but we're hoping that he settles on something different. So I want to thank those who tuned in for this, the staff who came out that night to make sure that we could do this live on our Facebook. Of course, in the future, we're looking forward to having big community events. Because we couldn't all be there at one time in the same space due to COVID, we are asking folks to independently come to the tree and feel free to put a item on the tree, some type of decoration on the tree. We want this to be a community event. So please feel free when you come downtown to check out our lights to also put an item on our tree at Napster Park. Also, in a completely unrelated announcement to my competition with Phil from 104 The Fox, we have a blood drive truck that is coming to City Hall on the 16th, and I want to encourage folks to, council members, especially council members who recovered from COVID, because we're looking for more folks with COVID antibodies to donate blood. But that will be on the 16th, and it will, I think, be parked right out front here, so it should be pretty easy to access. And again, as mentioned last week, we have a shortage for some reason of blood in December, so we want to make sure that we help out by donating blood. And the very last announcement I have is I did receive a text message, and the goose dog's name is Jack, for those who are wondering. Further announcements? All right. Since we don't have further announcements, we actually have some more business after this. So I move that the City Council recess into executive session for 15 minutes to receive information on a potential eminent domain action pursuant to KSA 754319B2 for legal consultation with the city attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship about potential litigation, legal advice. The executive session is required to protect the city's right to the confidentiality of its negotiating position and the public interest. We will start that at 10:20, and it will we'll reconvene in the chamber at 10:35. With that,
Second.
motion has been made and seconded. Sorry. Clerk will open a roll. Members cast the vote. Result of 6 yeas to 1 absent. The motion does pass. We will be in executive session in about 5 minutes.